Hello, everyone. Welcome to Untangled. We're on episode 139. I'm excited to be here with you guys. I hope that the light stays on and I hope that you can hear me well. I don't have a microphone today. I'm in Germany and I am at a center where I am doing a 21-day fast. And so I'm feeling amazing. I'm on day 2 of my fast. And I decided to do this fast because I wanted to get closer to God and to get closer to Jesus and to live my life in a more aligned state with God. And to get real clear with all of that. So that is why I am here. If you are new to Untangled, you've never heard Untangled, we talk about the evolutionary shift in human consciousness. We talk about all the ups and downs, ins and outs of what it's like to actually just move through this journey of evolving, going from a 3rd dimension to a 5th dimension in a very human body, in very human ways. And today's episode is going to be a really cool, important episode. Mainly because I'm going to be sharing about a really potent shift in our timeline. And it's very rare that we get to experience these actual frequency shifts. And it's important that we understand the larger perspective, the larger view of what's actually happening, instead of getting caught in the really divisive, triggering details of what's happening and what side are you on and who's good and who's bad. When we get caught in that, like we did in COVID, right? There were just divisive sides and good, bad, and all that, and we lost sight of the bigger picture, which was this really massive evolutionary shift in the human consciousness in that moment. And so that is what's happening right now this past week. And so I'm going to dive into describing from a larger perspective why, for whatever reason, the Charlie Kirk assassination shifted the human collective's timeline. And that's exactly what it did. And it's not so much about religion, or if you are an atheist, or if you are a Catholic or a Christian, if you're a Muslim. This is about, if you're an atheist, I think I said that, right? It's not about that. It's about an overarching evolutionary shift where humanity is moving from one state of being to a much higher state of being. People call this the ascension. They call this 3D to 5D. I just call it evolving in our consciousness. And we need moments in our history, moments in our planetary journey where that frequency of the human collective shifts. It kind of jolts us or shifts us up a little bit. Right? Brings us up into a little bit of a new state of being. And it happens over and over again, but it doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen all the time. It happens in like, it could happen 10 years apart, 5 years apart, 3 years apart. But they are significant moments that shift a collective. And so, unfortunately, we had to experience a pretty horrific moment that many of us saw on screen, and it shifted the collective. And I want to preface this by saying, I don't know why this was the event that was chosen. There was definitely a divine design around it. It was definitely a sacrifice. It was definitely something that you could almost say was planned. Of course, the assassination was planned by those evil families that don't want us to align with God. But there are a million different horrific things that are happening on the planet every day. There are deaths, suicides, assassinations, murders, sacrificial things. There's horrible things happening all over the planet all the time. I don't have the answer as to why this event is what energetically shifted the collective, but it did. And I can go into some reasons why I believe it did, which I will, but I don't want this I don't want my words to make it seem as if I believe this was a more important experience than other horrible murders and deaths and all the stuff that happens, the shootings that happen in the United States all the time, right? I want to just emphasize that there was a really profound frequency shift in the human collective. And I think it's important to talk about that and also to witness um, the real profound spiritual battle that we are in. And that moving from a third dimensional frequency to a fifth dimensional frequency is going to require us to stand in some really dark, demonic, and evil energies. And so let me break this down a little bit. So we all understand that there is a spiritual battle happening that, and it's energetic in the most part, right? So there is evilness being played out in humans, and there is light being played out in humans. And as we shift into these new and higher states of being, we are going to be called into being more God-like. So we will be aligning with God above us and within us more and more, which creates what people like to call Christ consciousness, what I call just godlike. And if you're in the spiritual realm, in the spiritual community, you'll call it Christ consciousness. Christ is God, consciousness is energy. So God energy. Or Christ is God, consciousness is light. So God light. It's the same thing, but again, we like to battle. We like to say, no, it's not about going to Jesus and going to God. It's about being more Christ-like or becoming Christ consciousness. It's actually the same thing. It's just different lenses and different ways of getting there, right? Jesus plays and will play and will continue to play a very important role in connecting us to God. And more of us will figure this out and discover this. But outside of that, however we find ourselves aligning with God within us is what's most important. And that is the trajectory of humanity, is realigning with God inside by connecting with God, source creator, outside. Because when humanity was in a fifth dimensional state of being millions of years ago, that's how they lived. They were divinely connected to source, living God-like within them. And so if you start peeling this back and looking at what we're dealing with right now, what we saw play out in the Charlie Kirk assassination, which I'm also calling more of like a sacrifice, because these evil demonic people on the planet, they do a lot of sacrificial things. They sacrifice people. It was the dark and the light playing out. And I think that is why it was so impactful for so many people, is that we saw darkness destroying light in front of our eyes. And I'm not saying you don't have to like Charlie Kirk, but Charlie Kirk was walking in faith, and his faith, and he was living as godlike as he possibly could be. And his faith became more important than fame, than money, than prestige. And what I think happened, in my opinion, was Charlie got very close to the dark. He was very young, and I don't think he realized the type of darkness that was on this planet, and I don't think he realized that it was in his own community or neighborhood, i.e., the government. And so I think what happened is as he started to grow and grow and grow and become more and more popular and receiving millions and millions of dollars from all these different organizations, I think he started to come up against absolute evil. And I think this evil and darkness that these people have in them that are running this entire world, they don't want godlike humans beginning to step outside of them and make their own choices. They need them to be a part of their system. And so what usually happens with people like Charlie Kirk is that they eventually give in, so to speak. When there's enough money, you'll silence your voice. When there's enough fame, we'll give you this show, we'll give you this thing, we'll give you this, they'll slowly begin to silence themselves in certain ways. So they will sacrifice their faith to God in order to have these fleshly things in the human experience. And I think why this is such a profound moment in our evolutionary shift in consciousness is because what we saw visually, okay, is in a very graphic, horrific way, which was also intentional, and even though we don't know the behind the scenes, and a lot of us will guess really what happened, right? There is a man that was standing for God, that would not lay down his sword, that no matter what came at him, how much money, he wasn't going to bend for God. And what killed him was that. And it was all of these people and families, Luciferian, demonic, dark families that control all of us, that we're going to make an example out of him, so to speak. And they could have killed him in any way. They didn't have to do it the way they did it. It was a sacrifice in front of our eyes. We now had to be a part of their sacrifice that we never wanted to be a part of. You understand, these sacrifices happen behind closed doors. Most of us would be horrified to understand the type of sacrifice that these families do. And thank God we don't have to see it. But the reason I believe this had such an impact, even though a lot of us can't understand the why, it's because they sacrificed somebody in front of our eyes without us asking in order to claim their truths, in order for them to claim their power, their control, their antichrist type of way. And so what it showed on the stage in that one moment, that this battle of dark and light on this planet, and it is a battle. And I think why so many people sort of had this really visceral emotional response, not even knowing Charlie Kirk, is because we all innately understand this battle. We all know because you incarnated into this battle. You knew as a soul you were going to come down and be in this battle, and that it was going to get very physical, very visceral, very real. It wasn't just going to be, um, experiences that you would hear or that you would read about or that you could vibrate and meditate out of. It was going to impact all of us on the planet at some point in a very physical way. And this is just perhaps the beginning of this battle really being shown to us. Why do I think this was a pivotal moment for humanity? Because it dropped us into our hearts. It dropped us into the massive dark and light. You saw so many people cheering this death on, being excited about it. It's just showing the more demonic energies that are on the planet. It's bringing to light this spiritual battle, and it's bringing humanity to God. Whatever God is to you, it's bringing us to God, which means that it's asking us, it's like God, it's like a huge cry from God. See me, hear me, ask for me, call me in. We've got to start inviting God back down onto this planet and into our bodies. And that is what happened. That is a profound timeline shift in this evolution. I promise you, we will look back to this event and we will see a very profound shift in how so many humans began to change their life. And I'm not saying it means everyone goes to church or that everybody prays or that everybody finds Jesus. I'm saying that, and I've said this for a while, that it's going to be all about going straight to God. What I'm saying is that this event was a cataclysmic event that is going to push people to the deeper understanding of what it means right now to go to God, whatever that means for you, whether it's an energy, a consciousness, the universe, source, whether it's solely inside you or there is this source that you plug into. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because the entire human collective is shifting into a dimensional state where it will be required that the human body has plugged into God, that the God particle is activated within them, and they are acting God-like, regardless of what is being taunted in front of them, the carrots that are being taunted in front of us, which is all the time, every day. You need more success. You need more money. You need more, more clothes. You need more, uh I don't know, you name it. You need more followers, you need more this, you need more that. It's all the carrot dangling, pulling us from God. And again, what I find so ironic about this Charlie Kirk horrific assassination is that I don't think he was budging. I think at the end of the day, when it came down to it, he was going to choose God. And that is the spiritual battle that we are fighting right now. And so instead of getting caught up, because we like to get caught up in the stories, all the conspiracy theories around it, the horrible things that Charlie said that you didn't like, the fact that people think maybe it's about finding Christianity, whatever storyline you may find yourself playing in, I encourage you to look at it from this bigger perspective, which is why we're here. It's the evolutionary shift in human consciousness, and I encourage you to look at what that means. And what does it mean to move from one dimensional field to another? And if you've been studying this for a while, what does the fifth dimension actually mean, which most of us aren't in? We're not close to it. It's going to require so much more work from us. But what does that mean? What does it mean to be godlike? Really, what does that mean? And how many of us in Charlie Kirk's position would have done what he did? You know, how many of us sacrifice the pleasures in life for God? How many of us, when push comes to shove, would we sacrifice millions of dollars over God? How many of us sacrifice friends liking us, family members liking us, the world liking us for God, your truth? Again, when I say God, I am referring to whatever it is that you believe is that one universal force on this entire in this entire existence from beginning to end. How many times have you kept yourself quiet because you didn't want to upset people? Or you wanted to make sure that you kept your job or you kept this person in your life, whatever it was. Charlie Kirk was beginning to step out of that. And I think that is a big piece for us to notice that 3D to 5D, evolution, ascension, whatever you call it, it's not just a walk in the park and a pretty little flower that gets given to you because you've been able to vibrate your body into some beautiful state. It's the realization of this battle that we are in and how we are being in our everyday life. How do we respond and react to people? How do we treat people? How do we treat ourselves? How often throughout our day are we saying, how would God see this right now? How would God respond? God being, again, it could be universe. How would universe see this right now? How would my soul see this right now? The more we recognize this, the more we're going to realize um, where we are and where we are being called to go. And so I believe this event has begun a shift where humanity will start to understand that God is calling us back. And the threat that is to the systems, the families that have been running this world for thousands of years, it is a massive threat for you to find God. It's the number one threat. They will do everything and anything to stop us from aligning with God because it is the most powerful and potent place to be. People will sacrifice their lives for God. And the powers that be, these dark, demonic, Luciferian families, want you to sell your soul to them for all of these beautiful things that life can give you so they can control us. And so, what is probably happening in your life right now is that there is a death of many things being taken. There is a burning down of your life in a way. And if it's not happening, good, lucky you. But a lot of us are finding this, that things are burning down, ways we used to be, relationships, jobs, finances, random things like your car just going away, breaking down, your house having issues, you don't even know why or what. I'm talking like random weird things where it's like, why is this happening? A person that just was super healthy just all of a sudden dies, just like weird things, right? This burning down of a life that used to feel comfortable, that used to feel familiar. It's going to start happening because we have to start going to God. We have to start realizing that the way we've been living life, we're not going to be able to keep doing it because how we've been doing it has been controlled by these families. All of it. Our educational system, our financial system, our governmental systems, our every system, it's controlled by these families. And it's suffocated us and stopped us from finding God. And so the more that you come back to God, the more you are going to realize, oh my God, none of this works for me anymore. Then you're going to have to start finding other people that are seeing it the same way you are, that are living in it the same way you are. And you're going to have to recalibrate yourself because living aligned with God is very different than how most of us have lived our lives. There is a freedom, a peace, an ease, a grace, there is a way of being where you really feel like you broke free. It's like you're living your most natural designed state. It's all you want. I mean, it is the greatest search of man is God. Who are we? Why are we here? And when you see something like a Charlie Kirk assassination, where again, most of us didn't even realize the undercurrent of it, but here is a man that is all about God, all about God. And I do not put it past that people very close to him were connected to the assassination, including our government. I would not put it past. And so he wasn't killed because of his political views. He was killed because he put God first. And there are very few people, I think, on the planet at that level that will do that right now. And that is why unconsciously it has dramatically impacted so many people. Because we see metaphorically how conditioned, programmed, and suffocated we are as a planet. And we don't want it. And we want to break free. And we want out. And it's about finding the light. It's about what is God to you and how often do you go to God? Because God is what saves us, i.e., pulls us into these new dimensional states. It's not us, it's God. Why? Because we become God-like when we find God. And when you become God-like, you naturally begin to move into these frequencies. But we have to be able to, we're going to have to stand in this battle. We're going to have to stand in that chaos and in that darkness and peel it back the way it makes sense for you, but to not get caught up in the divide, right? The hate, the details that don't matter. It's a pivotal moment. I was telling the people on Instagram, so if there was a way, I mean, these moments don't come along very often. Yes, there's solar flares. Yes, people talk about portals and all this stuff, but an actual frequency shift in the human collective doesn't happen very often. And I'm going to describe what that is. We can measure the Earth's frequency. That's the Schumann resonance. Great. Fabulous. But that is not the human collective's frequency. So I want you to imagine here's a ball, okay? And that ball has a weight, and we have the ability to weigh it. But then you've got billions of humans on the planet vibrating out of frequency, just like the Earth vibrates out of frequency. We can measure the Earth's frequency, Schumann resonance. But then you've got 7 billion human bodies that also have a frequency. And there is a collective frequency that we should be able to measure, I wish, the collective frequency of each human body. So you take 7.5 billion people's frequencies, Add it together, and what's the medium frequency that you get? That's the collective frequency. If we could measure that collective frequency 2 weeks ago and today, it would have increased. That is the timeline shift. That is when a collective, human collective, shifts timelines, because the frequency of that human collective instantaneously shifted, typically because of an event. COVID did it, 9/11 did it. Who else did it? I don't know. Give me some other examples. Um, there have been many events, a handful of events over the years that have created a timeline shift, because whatever that event was, it created a frequency shift in the human collective's bodies. And we are now catapulted into a different walk. We're walking a little bit different on a different timeline now. Not everybody is going to be experiencing the same thing. You have 7.5 billion people. This is the median average frequency of the whole collective. So you have very dark people on the planet, you have very light people on the planet, and then you've got the average people, right? And so the collective frequency has increased, but there's still going to be very dark people doing very horrific things and super evolved people doing super evolved things. The collective frequency of the human species has shifted. And so humans instantaneously begin to feel differently. They instantaneously feel like something's shifted, something's different, something happened. They can feel something's not the same as it was, but they can't pinpoint it. That is a shift in the human collective's field, and it's a timeline shift. And what it does is it catapults humanity into a path where they start being differently. Right? Martin Luther King's assassination, JFK's assassination, it catapulted humanity. And so humanity, the frequency shifts a little bit. They pop into a new timeline, a new path, and now they begin to be in new ways that they didn't choose. Meaning they didn't do all this work to bring themselves to this new state of being where they're all of a sudden trying to find God. These shifts in our evolution happen externally, an event that shifts us immediately, and we begin to be in new ways. That's what happens in the evolution when these profound timeline shifts happen. Now, you and I are doing our own individual work every day, right? And we are helping the planet increase her frequency, and we're helping the human collective increase their frequency by you and I doing all of the different work that we do and that we have been doing, right? But we still need cataclysmic, horrific events that jolt the human collective up. They have to happen, and they will continue to happen for many years to come. And what they do is they bring us into new ways of being that we just couldn't get ourselves to yet. We weren't quite there. Boom, this happens. We've shifted. And it's I absolutely love these moments, because this is the real tangible evolution in consciousness. If you've been studying ascension forever and ever, this past week is a massive historical moment in your ascension, because it shifted the timeline. And it's very different than solar flares and new moons and full moons and, moments where the sun's coming in and we're getting all these activations. It's very, very different than what we just experienced. And why I think it's extremely important to talk about and that I'll keep talking about is because if you can kind of tattoo in your memory and in your mind what happened this past week, what it felt like before, during, and after. We're still not in the after. You'll be able to recognize the next time one of these massive timeline shifts occur. Um, so yeah, maybe when Princess Diana passed away, maybe. Um, and so, at the end of the day, what do I think this shift is doing for all of us? It's bringing us to God, whatever that is for each individual human on this planet. It's softening our hearts. It's bringing us to an even deeper understanding that there is a really intense spiritual battle. It doesn't matter how light and love you are. It doesn't matter how much you meditate. It doesn't matter any of that. There is a very profound spiritual warfare that is happening. And the one home base that we have and that we will start recognizing that we have is God. It's God. And the more that we connect to God, and the more that we align with God, and the more that we follow God, and the more that we become more God-like, the less power these energies, families, and people have. Because when you get right with God, when you are in alignment with God, when you are following God, when you are breathing God through you, you will no longer do the things that these families and systems want you to do so that you can stay under their control. You'll stop doing them. You will have these aha clear moments of like, oh my God, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to pay attention and follow those limiting thoughts that I have, which are infiltrations. I'm not going to go eat at those fast food restaurants anymore that are poisoning my body. I'm not going to pay for all of those, you know, drugs that my body doesn't need anymore. I don't know. I'm just throwing out things. I'm not saying those are wrong. I mean, I love a good McDonald's French fry and give me Taco Bell, and I'm a happy camper. Okay, I'm not saying that if you do these things, you're not following God. What I'm saying is that as we start digesting God more and more, we will stop doing the things that keep us inundated, numbed out, and in their control. I mean, come on. I am a sucker for my pumpkin latte. I'll tell you what, the one thing I miss the most, I'm only on my second day of my fast, but I'm already dreaming of my pumpkin spiced latte from Starbucks, which we all know is extremely poisonous and dangerous and horrible. And I already know all the bad things, but it's baby steps, you guys. This is baby steps. The evolution and ascension journey. These are baby steps. Um, but open yourself to be open to the fact that like it's very possible that how we thought this was going to go might not go the way we thought it was. The beliefs that we hold, they may have to change along the way. We don't know there is no one that knows how this goes. No one. There's nobody that knows what to expect or how it's going to happen or what it's going to be like. It's a very humbling experience to be in this evolutionary shift in consciousness in this human vessel that's very dense. It's very possible that Jesus may play a very significant role in this, and it has nothing to do with religion or dogmatic practices or hell or all the things that we have all been taught, right? Perhaps that has been part of the tricks that these families have done in order to keep us from a profound teaching and tool. I don't know. I'm just saying that where we're going and how we're going to get there may be very different than what we initially thought. And to keep yourself open to all of it, because No matter what, we are all moving to these new states of being, these new ways of being, these beautiful, beautiful ways of being that are going to just shock us by how great life's going to be. Our hearts are going to be so open. There's so much compassion and kindness that's coming for us and this planet. There is so much love and service to others. Um, what is coming for humanity is just going to be so freaking incredible. But we do have to wake up and see what we're in. And although COVID gave us a little bit of a shake, we haven't come even close to the darkness that's actually running this planet. And there's so many questions of like, well, what do we do? Go to God. What can I do? How can I save myself and my family from all of this? Go to God. How often do you sit with God? How often do you talk to God? How often do you breathe God through you? What saves us from all of this is God. Finding, I'm not saying God's our savior. I'm saying that us being God-like by connecting to God is what saves, is what brings us out. That is the answer, in my opinion. That's the answer. And we'll be shown this over and over and over because we, unfortunately, and I said this in January of this year, there are going to be with the LA fires, there are going to be some very, very horrific things that are going to happen in order to get us to understand we must let go and let God. Thousands of people around the world have let go and let God this past week. People that probably had no idea that they were even going to feel this way are finding themselves talking to God for the first time, going to churches for the first time, opening up to this conversation. Why? They don't know. It's because it's the path for evolution. We break free from this stronghold that these energies have had on us by finding God, by being humble to that, by figuring that out on your own. What is it to you? It doesn't have to be like anyone else. There isn't a one-way path. Like, what is it? What is God to you? What does it mean to you? How often do you think about it? How often do you contemplate it? How often do you breathe it through you? Like, what is this? Let's start having this dialogue about it, because this is not going anywhere. What we saw with Charlie Kirk, we're going to see these things. They're going to be different. Everyone thinks that there's gonna be like another COVID thing. No, 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 no. This is a spiritual battle. This is a spiritual battle. So we're gonna see the dark and the light played out in front of our eyes going forward. It's gonna be different each time. This is a chess game. They're not gonna throw the same move at us, right? They're gonna keep giving us something different. And the beautiful piece about it is a divine design. It is planned, because it wakes humanity up. It's designed. It needs to happen because it wakes humanity up. That shift in frequency woke up millions of people into thinking about God. Is that a coincidence? Is that just like that's weird? No, it's the path of our evolution. It's exactly how it's supposed to go. COVID did it. Other events have done it. They've shifted us into new ways of being, new states of being. If you look at what Charlie was talking about towards the end, if you look into his relationships, you'll see like, he was getting pretty close to that darkness. He was friends with some, not sure, not sure. The difference between him and many others is that he chose God. He chose God. And I think we'll start, maybe this will start to come out. Hopefully it will come out, the truth of what really happened. The truth. I don't know. But I hope it does, because it'll show the truth of what really happened. It wasn't a 21 or 22-year-old kid that killed him. It was someone else. And I just keep getting this feeling that it was people so close to him were involved, and it's just makes me sad. I also get the feeling that our president was involved in some capacity. I don't know. Things just feel really off, you know? And I think the more off it feels, the more we have to just go to God. Whatever that is to you. Doesn't have to be like anyone else. I really want to get that across. There is this beautiful spark within you that is God. It's a God spark. I call it the God particle. And when it starts activating, man, your life changes. Everything changes, and it's how we're designed to live in these new states of being, this higher state of being, this Garden of Eden, this heaven on earth. It's living God-like. Well, how do you think we get there? You don't just vibrate yourself into it. It's not possible unless you go live in a cave. If you're living on the planet in real life, doing everything that everybody else is doing, meditation and meditating yourself into high frequencies is not going to do it. It's just not. It's understanding the power of God, whatever that is to you, and bringing that in and out of you all the time now. That's the superpower we have. Otherwise, we will be, in my opinion, we will continue to be tempted and not understanding what the temptations are doing in our lives. Oh, well, I'm just sleeping all day, or oh, I'm just, eating all this food, or oh, I'm just drinking all of this wine, and it's fun. It's what I do. We don't realize that behind that is these really dark demonic energies that want us to do this. We are not being told from the age of 0 to whatever that we should not drink alcohol. There are advertisement upon advertisements of drinking alcohol. There are liquor stores upon liquor stores to sell alcohol. Instead of advertisements about green juice, all we see are green juices. All we see are fruit stands and green and juice stands all over the place. It's designed that way. It's all designed that way, unfortunately. All the different fast food markets, all of that is designed. Unfortunately, it's designed that way, and it feels good. We enjoy it. We like it. It's a pleasure. But there comes a time where we're going to have to start to say to ourselves, wait a second, hold on. And that's why the Charlie Kirk assassination and sacrifice was so profound, because it unconsciously, it made us look at the temptations that we follow instead of God. It's easier. It's easier. It's easier to go to fast food. It's easier to drink a glass of alcohol instead of sitting with your emotions and thoughts. It's easier to overeat and binge and purge and all the stuff that people do. It's easier to go shopping on Amazon for 3 hours. It's easier to do all these things, and it's part of the human condition. And it's hard to not do those things. But the practice is, while you're doing all of those things, can you also bring God in? That's the start. Like, at least bring God in, at least realize that something's tempting you. The easy path is tempting us. Anything that's easy for us, it can be a temptation. And just starting to get curious around that, starting to think about that, starting to look at that, starting to become aware of that. All right, you guys, I'm going to get going. Do you use your page to share your truth? Yes, I do, as much as I possibly can. Do I hold back around Jesus? Yes, 100%. Is it very difficult for me to talk about my absolute truth with Jesus? Yeah, it's very difficult. And I find that interesting, Why is it so hard for people to talk about Jesus? And I'm not talking about Jesus even from a religious standpoint, but what is that, right? Can we dissect that? So I've had no problem talking about almost anything, but when it comes to Jesus, I am holding back. And I pray that I will stop holding back completely and share everything. It's part of why I'm on this fast. This 21-day fast is so that I can be fully, authentically, transparently me in all of what is coming through, all of what I'm learning right now with Jesus, all of the things I want to teach you guys and I want to share with you guys and I want to expand your mind with. I'm holding back because I am nervous. So yeah, there isn't it's not everything that I share. Do I wish that I could? 100%. Do I plan on doing it? Yeah, I'm going to figure out how to get the courage to do it and I will do it. I will 100% do it. I think that's also why Charlie Kirk inspired so many people is because he didn't care. He didn't care, you know? Um, I think we should pray for Palestine. I think we should pray for the United States. I think we should pray for every country. I think we should pray for every country. I think we should pray for this entire planet. I think, but I think what's happening in Palestine is pretty insane. I'm not gonna lie, pretty insane. But I think what's happening all around the world is pretty insane. Again, it's like when we start to understand that there are just a few large families that are legit running this entire planet, and they are dark, demonic, reptilian, uh, hybrid humans. Um, you know, it allows us to have the compassion to really hold what's happening around the entire planet. Yeah. Telling you guys, there's a wave there's a wave on this planet that just the wave just got bigger, and I am really stoked on talking about it because it's what I've been preaching for almost a year, the power and importance of God and how we should be just going straight to God. And the world is so distractive and it's so enticing, that we want the fun things and we want the things that are going to give us excitement or the shock and awe, like tell me the crazy things that are going to be happening. But um, I don't think anyone predicted this, right? And this is one of the most one of the pivotal moments in our historical evolution is this moment this past week. So I think it gives us an example of like we're not going to be able to predict what's coming. Stop trying to do that too, and just stay present. Um, and let the waves of the present moment really pull us. What an absolute beautiful moment it is on this planet. Horrible for what happened to Charlie, to his family, and to everybody else that has suffered in some way at the hands of these horrific families that are in charge of all the wars. They're in charge of all the horrific things that are happening, all of them. Um, And so maybe may we also find prayer and begin praying way more. And yeah, I will be back with you guys next Tuesday. I'll be full-fledged into my fast. It's a water fast, and then I'll be adding some like a vegetable broth. Uh, Sometime later on. I will see how far I can go with the water fast, and then but I'm going to share it. If you're in my SOAR community, I'm sharing all about it, the journey, but I'll share a little bit here as well. I think that fasting is also something that's going to become really important for us because it brings us closer to God. Thanks for listening to me, you guys. Thanks for being a part of this community. Thanks for joining me here in Untangled. Thanks for being you. Thanks for incarnating on the planet at this time. Thanks for continuing to soften your heart, to be of service to somebody out there, and to being kind and compassionate to yourself and to the world. That's all we need is more kindness and compassion. And that in and of itself will shift this planet. I love you. Thank you for being here. And I'll see you next Tuesday. Bye, everyone.